In a signal to the end of the inflation fight, the Federal Reserve cut a key interest rate by a sizable half a point and expects two more cuts to happen by the end of the year. Joining us now, Steve Lewit, the founder and CEO of SGL Financial. Steve, always good to see you. We knew that this was going to be coming. This was what's termed a jumbo cut here. Talk to me about the timing of this, a sign that the economy on solid footing, inflation is getting in check.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a fun time right now because there's a lot going on. The Fed raised interest rates to cool inflation, and what raising interest rates is like putting water on a fire, like the fire of the economy. And then inflation now has slowed down to around 2.5%, 3%, not quite the 2% that the Fed was aiming for, but within reason. And more important than that, the employment market has softened. Unemployment is rising. So the whole economy shows this softening, and the Fed say, look, maybe now it's time we put a little gas on the economy. That's by lowering interest rates. They put a little gas on the economy to fire it up and to see what has happened.
Yeah, so trying to stave off any hint of a recession here. Let's get down to what it means for everyday Americans here. How much will this actually bring down the cost of living as time goes by?
Well, candidly, it is a jumbo, but it is a very modest increase in scope of what will happen to the consumer. Now, look, if you're going to go shop for a car, you're going to find you're going to get a little better rate. If you go to borrow money, you're going to get a little better rate. Mortgage rates are already down to about 6.8% for a 30-year fixed mortgage, which is the lowest rate in 18 months. But these are very small reductions, and it's not a signal to go out and borrow a lot of money. In fact, if anything, it's a signal to make sure that you pay down your really high credit card interest rates that are running 24%, and be very careful with your money, especially because we don't know long term how the market and the economy is going to react to this.
Well, Steve, let's look at the reality. This is a big election year. President Trump, former president, came out just a little while ago and said, hey, this is all politics. I'm curious to get your take on that assessment.
Well, anything is possible. I will say that. But knowing the folks at the Fed, I'm an economist by trade originally, and knowing the way economists think, and we're all numbers nerds, and the folks at the Federal Reserve are numbers driven. So in anticipation of when I was talking to my economist friends and reading material from the Federal Reserve, all the indications were they could have actually had a larger cut than this. And many economists were suggesting that they cut it even more. So from my perspective, I see the data all lined up on this. Everything looks the way it should. So I doubt very much that this was politically motivated. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Well, the markets did climb on the news initially and then retreated. What other changes do you expect to see happen?
Well, what's going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of cuts coming in the future. It makes it, the consumer needs to be aware that, they were getting on a CD, you could get a CD for 4 or 5% for 5 years. That rate is now down to 4.45%, and that's going to come down further. So where you keep your safe, well, we've gone through a period where putting money in savings and money, we're getting these great returns. All of that's going to reduce and eventually go away. The consumer will need to find alternatives for their safe money, and that's a matter of visiting with a financial professional or doing your homework on the internet.
All right, we know there's always a flip side. People saving money don't see as much of a return on their savings investment. We got to leave it there. Steve Lewit with SGL Financial. Always good to have you in. Thanks so much.
Ray, thank you. Good night.